important discussion today. We're exploring the profound guidance offered by Imam Omar Suleiman in his work For Those Left Behind, Guidance on Death and Grieving. It's a text that really delves into the spiritual, emotional, and practical aspects of navigating loss.
It's an essential read, Chloe. Imam Suleiman begins with a powerful reminder from our tradition. While we were in our mother's wombs, an angel registered the exact duration of our lives and the date of our death. This isn't meant to be grim, but rather a catalyst for reflection, urging us to prioritize our prayers before we become the ones preyed upon. Life truly is far shorter than we often perceive it to be.
That's a very striking opening. It immediately grounds us in the inevitability of death, but the book quickly moves into how the community should respond to loss, specifically highlighting the widow. It seems there's a strong emphasis in Islamic tradition on caring for the most vulnerable, a sunnah that the source text suggests is often abandoned today in favor of only focusing on marriage proposals.
Absolutely. The Prophet Muhammad's example is paramount here. He, quote, never was prideful to be seen walking with the widow and orphan, and would accompany them until he fulfilled their need. Even more profoundly, the Prophet stated, quote, the one who strives in caring for the widows and the poor is like the one who strives in the path of Allah, and like the one who prays all night without sleeping and fasts all day without breaking it, end quote. These are immense rewards, demonstrating the weight Islam places on this communal duty. The source text further emphasizes that aiding a widow, especially an elderly one who can't care for herself, carries unrivaled reward.
That's an incredibly high bar for compassion. It's not just about offering sympathy, but actively providing support, equating it to acts of worship like jihad or continuous fasting and prayer. The text also touches on the specific waiting period for a widow, which is 4 months and 10 days, or until she gives birth if she's pregnant.
Precisely. During this waiting period, known as Ida, she's required to spend her nights in her home mourning. She can leave during the day for her needs, but the community should ideally step in to assist her so she can grieve undisturbed. Crucially, she must abstain from adorning herself or engaging in activities that might lead to marriage proposals. These aren't harsh rules. They are meant to facilitate her grieving process and protect her during a vulnerable time. The source adds that rulings regarding death, like the Ida, were largely legislated after the Battle of Uhud.
It's a framework for support, then, rather than punishment. I see how cultural practices can sometimes add unnecessary burdens during this period. For example, the text mentions cultures that expect a woman not to smile for the entire mourning period, or practices that force extended gatherings where food is expected.
That's a key distinction. The Sunnah, or the Prophet's practice, provides a simple, limited list of prohibitions. Cultural innovations that impose additional hardships, like forbidding smiling, contradicting the spirit of ease in Islam, or demanding large feasts from the grieving family, which instead should be preparing food for them, as the Prophet did for Ja'far's family, are misplaced. Our priority should be to alleviate burdens, not create them, and respect the family space.
That makes perfect sense. Now, turning to another aspect of death rites, what about women's participation in funeral prayers and processions? The text brings up questions of tradition and differences of opinion.
For women, participating in the funeral prayer, the Salah al-Janazah, is unanimously permitted and encouraged, regardless of location. They receive the same reward, called a kirat, equivalent to Mount Uhud. However, wailing, loud, excessive lamentation, striking cheeks, tearing clothes, is absolutely prohibited for both genders, as it seemed to harm the deceased. The source also notes that while following the procession is generally disliked for women, visiting graves is permitted and even recommended, as Aisha confirmed the Prophet later commanded it to remind us of death.
So, prayer is encouraged, but uncontrolled expressions of grief are forbidden. What about following the funeral procession or visiting graves?
Here, there's more nuance. While following the procession is generally disliked for women, primarily due to the potential to provoke wailing, visiting graves is permitted and even recommended. The Prophet initially prohibited it, then commanded it, emphasizing it reminds us of death. Aisha herself visited her brother's grave and confirmed this change in ruling.
That's a significant detail, showing an evolution in practice. The text also vividly describes the raw emotion of burying a loved one, like Abu Bakr kissing the Prophet's forehead for the last time, and Fatima's poignant question about how the companions could bear to put dirt on him.
It's a powerful section, reminding us of the profound emotional impact of burial. The source details that, when washing the dead, the contrast between past memories and the lifeless corpse is intense, leading people like Abu Bakr to kiss the Prophet's forehead one last time. The Sunnah emphasizes a swift burial after the funeral prayer. We also learn that when placing the body, it's recommended to say, quote, "In the name of Allah and in the way of the messenger of Allah," end quote. Then, after burial, we are advised to, quote, "seek forgiveness for your brother and ask for their steadfastness, for they are now being questioned," end quote. This highlights the deceased's immediate need for our prayers at a critical juncture. The source also mentioned the companion Amr ibn al-As requested family stay by his grave for the time it takes to sacrifice an animal to give him comfort during questioning.
That shifts the focus from our grief to their immediate needs. The text then transitions to perhaps the most moving concept. How do I move on? It argues that we shouldn't move on, but rather move forward with them.
This is a beautiful and deeply insightful idea. The Prophet's own example with Khadija is central. He never moved on from her loss. Instead, he cherished her memory, constantly mentioned her, and honored her friends. Aisha even said, quote, "It was as if there was no woman in the world except Khadija," end quote, years after Khadija's passing. The Prophet's love for her propelled him forward, expanding his heart rather than crippling him. Remembering our loved ones can be a motivator for good deeds, which in turn benefit them. The source notes that the companions similarly extended their connection, like Abdullah ibn Umar, honoring the children of his father's friends.
So our prayers are their lifeline, so to speak. Beyond just prayer, what are the best deeds we can do for them? The text outlines several categories.
Yes, it breaks it down into 5 key areas. First, settling debts to people, like financial obligations or seeking forgiveness from anyone the deceased wronged. Second, debts to Allah, such as unfulfilled Hajj or missed fasts, which can be performed on their behalf, though not missed prayers. The third category covers righteous deeds which are an inspiration. If the deceased taught or inspired good, they share in its reward. The fourth involves righteous deeds specified in the Sunnah, like continuous charity, sadaqah jariyah, Hajj or Umrah, or disseminating beneficial knowledge.
And the fifth category.
The fifth is righteous deeds not specified in the Sunnah, like reciting Quran or voluntary acts of worship. While scholars differ on whether the reward automatically transfers, most agree that performing such good deeds with the right intention and then making a specific dua for the deceased is beneficial. However, we should avoid cultural rituals like ceremonies 10 or 40 days after death, as these lack basis in the Sunnah and can become burdensome innovations. The source also emphasizes that the Prophet's form uniquely cannot be imitated by Satan, even in dreams.
That's a very comprehensive guide for continuous connection. Now, addressing the spiritual realm, the book asks, where are they? It offers a comforting perspective on martyrs, for instance.
The Prophet explained that martyrs' souls are placed in the bodies of green birds, flying freely in paradise, eating from its fruits. This beautiful imagery indicates a blissful state of existence. And for all righteous individuals, the grave expands and is lit up, 70 cubits by 70 cubits according to one narration, where the soul maintains a connection to the grave, but ascends to higher realms, shown their place in paradise twice daily.
That's a powerful vision of peace for the deceased. The book then moves to whether souls are with each other, hinting at reunions.
Indeed, the longing Bilal felt for the Prophet after his passing, looking forward to reuniting with Muhammad and his companions, speaks volumes. Ibn al-Qayyim states that in Barzakh, the interim realm, souls keep company with those they loved and emulated. The Prophet said, quote, "You are with who you love," end quote. Righteous souls gather, eager to greet new arrivals and ask about those still in the world, creating a profound sense of continuity. The source also warns that if a soul is missing when others gather, it implies they are in al-hawiyah, which should motivate us to strive for righteousness.
The idea of that spiritual reunion is incredibly comforting, but the immediate question for many is, do they hear me when I visit?
The prophet taught us to greet the deceased in the graveyard, saying, quote, "Peace be upon you, O inhabitants of the graves," end quote, directly addressing them. While they don't hear everything, certain instances confirm they perceive. The prophet, for example, mentioned the deceased hearing the footsteps of the last congregants leaving the grave, and after the Battle of Badr, he addressed the fallen disbelievers, and his companions were told, quote, "You cannot hear any better than what they are hearing," end quote. This implies Allah enables them to hear what He wills. The source also mentions that while dua at home benefits them, visiting the grave is primarily for our self-reminder of death, though it does offer them comfort.
So, a limited but real perception. That leads into, do they know what is happening to me? As in, the living.
This is a profound and sobering point. The prophet said, quote, "The deeds of the living are shown to those who have passed away," end quote. If they see good deeds, they are delighted and praise Allah. If they see evil, they supplicate to Allah, saying, quote, "O Allah, do not cause them to die until you guide them like you guided us," end quote. They are concerned for our spiritual state, and this knowledge should motivate us to live righteously, to please them, and to eventually join them. Abu Darda made dua seeking refuge from doing deeds that would disgrace him in the sight of his deceased brother, Abdullah ibn Rawaha, illustrating this concern.
That's a powerful incentive. Speaking of interaction, what if we dream about them? Is that a true encounter with their souls?
The scholars confirm the possibility of seeing deceased loved ones in dreams. Ibn al-Qayyim noted the soul's ability to move freely during sleep, which he likened to a minor death. However, bad dreams are from Satan and should be disregarded, seeking refuge in Allah. Crucially, while dreams can be a blessing, they shouldn't be seen as a barometer of piety. Not seeing a loved one doesn't mean anything is wrong with one's faith. The prophet's form, uniquely, cannot be imitated by Satan. The source recalls a dream where Tufail's deceased friend asked Allah to forgive his hands, which he cut off in duress before death.
That distinction is important, preventing misinterpretations or distress. The book also covers the question, are they considered shuhada, or martyrs? It seems there are more categories than just battlefield deaths.
Indeed, while being killed in battle is the highest form, other categories include dying due to plague, a woman dying in childbirth due to the struggle or jihad involved, someone dying defending their property or life, or being crushed by a falling structure, which modern scholars extend to car accidents. The prophet also stated, quote, "Whoever asks Allah for martyrdom with truthfulness in his heart, Allah will give him the station of martyrdom, even if they die on their bed," end quote. Sincerity of intention is key. This status, unlike battlefield martyrdom, doesn't carry unique legal rulings for burial rites.
That's a wide net, offering hope for many. Finally, the text addresses losing a child, which is an unimaginable grief. How does Islam provide guidance there?
The prophet's own grief at the loss of his son Ibrahim is a profound example. He wept, saying, quote, "Verily, the eye tears, the heart grieves, and we are saddened over your departure, O Ibrahim. But we do not say except that which is pleasing to our Lord," end quote. This teaches us that grief is natural, but it must remain within divinely prescribed limits, focusing on praising Allah despite the pain. Children lost in this world are described as a shield from the fire for their parents, and parents will be reunited with them in paradise, where the children will guide them by the hand. The source cites the example of Haritha's mother asking about his status in paradise.
That's incredibly tender and offers immense solace. The book concludes with a section on condolences, outlining the prophetic way versus some common cultural practices. The prophet's condolences were concise and profound. He would say, quote, "To Allah belongs that which He has taken, and that which He has given, and everything is with Allah in accordance with its prescribed time. So be patient and seek reward from Allah," end quote. This reminds us of Allah's ultimate ownership and the impermanence of life. He also instructed companions to prepare food for the family of Jafar, for they have been afflicted with that which preoccupies them. This shows the community should support the grieving family by feeding them, not burden them by expecting meals or prolonged visits inside their home for 3 days. So the emphasis is on alleviating the family's burden, not adding to it with cultural expectations like large feasts or lengthy gatherings. This has been such an illuminating conversation, drawing from Imam Omar Suleiman's For Those Left Behind guidance on death and grieving. It really highlights the depth of Islamic teachings on navigating loss and maintaining a connection with our loved ones here and in the hereafter.
It's about finding guidance and solace in faith, ensuring our actions honor both the deceased and the divine commandments. The book offers a beautiful tapestry of spiritual insight and practical advice.
If you found this discussion insightful, consider sharing this episode with someone who might benefit from its message.